Díomh agus fáilte arás to the Crazy House Prices podcast, the podcast where I help you buy your own home, get your finances in order and generally help you adult a little bit better. I'm your host, Ciarán Mulqueen, and today in episode 32, I'm answering some of your questions that you sent in. The topics range from where to put your savings while you're house hunting, how to sell your home, mortgage protection versus life insurance, solo buyers, one-stop shops and retrofitting, and even how I end up driving fancy new cars for a week at a time. So let's get into it. I'm going to pause the podcast for a second because I want to talk to you about a company called Financial Planning Matters. Their website is fpms.ie. This is a company that I know very well and the team behind it are fantastic. It's a small Irish company that believes that financial planning should be accessible, easy to understand and affordable for everyone. That's why they offer personalised financial advice that's tailored to your unique needs and goals. Their team of expert financial planners will look at your current financial situation and develop a personalised strategy to give you a roadmap to achieve your financial goals. It's not just about setting up a pension or investing your money. They'll consider all aspects of your finances to help you get to where you want to be. So that could be saving for your deposit. It could be knowing where to invest your children's allowance. It could be maybe you have loads of money and you want to know what to do with it. So their customer service is incredible. I've been using them for over a year now and I cannot recommend them enough. So check out fpms.ie. Now, back to the podcast. Question: what to do with your savings in the short term while saving for a mortgage? Right, so the rule of thumb will be if you're buying in less than 5 years, don't invest this money in stocks or anything like that, just due to market volatility. In the short term, just keep it accessible. If you're trying to buy within the next few years, just make sure that you have an emergency fund in your savings to cover at least 3 to 6 months of your normal living expenses. Any longer than that, I'd recommend looking at investing and talking to a financial planner. So you will have likely heard me talk about Niall. He's my financial planner of Financial Planning Matters. He's a sponsor of this podcast. He's a sponsor of my Instagram page. But more than that, he's actually just such an absolute legend and he's so sound and so helpful. And he basically looks after all my finances. Pensions, I would say, are probably the best to focus on if you're going down that road. And then the likes of EFTs and index funds, etc. But I would talk to Niall, but I just think pensions are fantastic. So in short, the rule of thumb is if you're buying in less than 5 years, there's different like Revolut accounts or different kind of online things where you might get like kind of a little bit of a higher interest rate than say in a normal pillar bank. But really, if you're planning on using that, then you just need to have it accessible. Other than that, definitely talk to a professional. Question: is asking price allowed for brand new homes from companies that just build? Asking price, I mean, the price is never the real price and always go way up in the end. Okay, so new builds should not have an increase in price. They should be priced per phase and the price is the price if you can get one. Like, so basically if it's 500,000, then that's what it is. It's 500,000. It's not a bidding thing. But it is common then that the next phase increases in prices as just generally prices go up and inflation and all of that. So there shouldn't really be a situation where a new build is advertised for a certain asking price and then the selling price is higher. However, if you're looking at it on the property price measure, it's worth noting that if you're looking at that for new builds, often the price listed on the property price measure is exclusive of VAT at 13.5%. So sometimes it has two figures. It will have the ex-VAT and then the one including VAT, or sometimes it just has the one excluding VAT. So it will tell you anyway, but just keep an eye out for that. Question: do banks do an additional credit check before drawdown? Well, yeah, they do. Not so much a credit check, but they will usually require up-to-date pay slips just to make sure that your circumstances haven't changed or that you haven't left or changed jobs. Question: may have missed this, but about to sell the family home. Don't have a link or a page to go to for tips. Completely blind here. Probate is all sorted, but no clue as to how to even start, apart from the auctioneer saying to paint the place. Right, so first thing you do is find a solicitor, and then you need to organise your BER rating. That's your building energy rating. And then you need to find an estate agent, or you could just sell directly on Daft. And then you just need to prepare for sales. So list out what will be included in the sale, like furniture, blinds, appliances, etc. And it could be a good idea then to get an engineer's report. That's when you get a professional in to have a look at the place and basically will tell you if there's going to be any issues. Then there's the bidding process, and it's worth remembering you decide who you sell the home to, not the estate agent. So ask for details of each bidder. If you're using an estate agent, like just think about who you would like to sell it to. Who would you like living next door to you? Like, do you want to sell to an investor? Do you want to sell to an owner occupier? And then once you get sale agreed, you get the booking deposit and basically the solicitors do the rest. But it's worth noting that the sale isn't complete until both parties sign the contract. So you've to sign it and they've to sign it. And then you close by just signing a transfer deed, and then you provide proof of payment of your property tax. And then if you have a mortgage, then your solicitor is obliged to pay it off from the sale proceeds. And then any balance then is transferred to your account. I have a whole post on this on my Instagram, so go check that out. It's called How to Sell Your Home. Question: I'm applying for a mortgage with my partner. We're 28, 29. What's the best option for us at this time? Mortgage protection insurance or life insurance? Life insurance seems more comprehensive, but is it worth paying an extra 10 or 20 euro a month for the rest of our lives? So basically the difference is life insurance will pay out to you. Mortgage protection just pays the bank. So mortgage protection is like the absolute basic requirement, and legally you have to have this to protect the banks, which, look, let's think, when you think about it, is absolutely ridiculous, because it means then that banks basically have zero risk entirely. But look, that's where we are. But life insurance will be a little bit more expensive, but that pays out to you rather than to the bank, and then you can pay off your mortgage, but it usually gives you a little bit extra. Whereas mortgage protection is basically your minimum legal requirement, and then life insurance just pays out a lump sum. It's really useful if you have or you want to have kids. And then it's got good flexibility because your life insurance can move with you, whereas mortgage protection, you have to change it each time. So if it's a little bit extra, it does buy you that peace of mind. Now, I will say personally, I've only got mortgage protection. I haven't got life insurance yet, but that is on my plan of adulting to do over the next 2 months, is sort out my life insurance. Question: do you think the one-stop shops are worth it over doing different things individually? I've heard a lot of people say one-stop shops are very overpriced. Also, how did you decide which one-stop shop company to go with? So there are pros to using the one-stop shop because it's one point of contact and they basically project manage everything and they sort out all the grants. So I used a company called EnviroBead and they're really good. If you go back to one of my earlier podcast episodes, I go into like way more in depth of our whole retrofitting process. But I will say they definitely are more expensive, and any builders or any tradespeople that are SEAI registered and getting grants, they charge a lot more. So it's really down to whether you want them to handle all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff. You probably will end up paying a little bit more, but then also they will do better at probably getting you more grants than you're able to get yourself. And then also, if you do the one-stop shop thing, there's different grants I think available there than there are if you're just getting individual grants. So personally, I do think it's worth it, just for peace of mind, as well as making sure that you're getting good advice. And because I think when I was doing it, I was contemplating going for a combi boiler rather than the heat pump, because the heat pump was more expensive. But then when I actually spoke to Fergal in EnviroBead, and there weren't many one-stop shops around at the time when we did ours, I think there was only 2 or 3, but there's a lot more now. But basically the way it worked out with the grants, the heat pump actually ended up probably around the same as the boiler would have cost, but the heat pump is way more efficient, and because my house is insulated and my running costs are basically covered by the solar for all our hot water and all our heating for the year. So I think it's probably, you're probably better off going with a one-stop shop, to be honest, although I do know that they are a lot more expensive. Question: I'm a single person with €325,000 to spend. I've bid on 14 houses now in about 4 to 5 different areas. When I got mortgage approval in September, I rang about a house and it was sale agreed. I see now on Daft that it went for €3,000 to €3,000, so I don't feel like I'm crazy thinking I should be able to get myself a house, but I'm at my wit's end. I'm writing letters left, right and centre. I'm offering to clear houses out if it makes life easier for the seller. I'm bringing coffees to viewings for estate agents. What? Don't be doing that. I'm moving away from areas I really wanted to be in. Apartments are a struggle because now it's the start of the year of management fees, and they're adding another 1% on that I don't have. Am I just looking at a bad time? Do things get easier as the year goes on? I'm just at a loss as a single person as to how I'm ever supposed to make this work for me. Do things get cheaper closer to the summer months, or does everything rise and rise and rise all the time? Thank you. Look, I totally get the frustration. I know I speak to people in this scenario every single day, and you're clearly doing everything right, other than don't be giving estate agents free coffees. But I know it feels impossible, but it's not. Have a look through my good news stories on my Instagram page. It's way, way more difficult than it should be for single buyers or solo buyers. It shouldn't be that difficult, and realistically 323 grand should get you a very decent house in a very decent area. But the prices are just getting worse and worse, and there's not really any time time of the year where they drop, or there's small increases and decreases in the level of stock coming onto the market when you look at the stats between like Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But really, it's not a huge difference. Just really make sure you're on like the daft alerts, use the filters really well, look at properties that have maybe been on the market for a little bit longer. Could you go for a fixer upper? You could also really just, because this is where we were in terms of, we just got so fed up with it with bidding wars, so we just went directly to homeowners. So you could consider that, writing directly to homeowners or trying to buy off market using my letter idea. Again, I've done podcasts on this, I can't remember what episode it is, but it's there a few episodes back, and that could be an option as well. So just like, don't give up. I know it's really tough, but in the end it will be worth it and it will feel amazing, I promise you. Question: what's your opinion on using estate agents that offer mortgage broker services? I'm wary to use one, as if I wanted to bid on a house they're selling, they know how much of a mortgage I'm approved for. Absolutely avoid this at all costs. Estate agents work for the seller, and just do not get your mortgage from an estate agent. Please don't. Use my trusted mortgage broker, Finance Solutions. They are the biggest mortgage broker in the country. They're like, look, I know I'm in a partnership with them, but honestly, they're just so good at what they do. The guy, Ken, who runs the whole company, is just brilliant. He's so knowledgeable. He's been in the game a long time, but just like our values align a lot. Like the reason I work with Finance Solutions is because our values do align, and they're just so home buyer focused and just so helpful, and they're just really good. And look, they're not sponsoring this podcast or anything like that, but they're just, honestly, I wouldn't work with them if they weren't great. So just use my trusted mortgage broker, Finance Solutions. Question: a friend was telling me if you make one additional mortgage payment a year, then this takes years off your mortgage, and they make this payment, happen to make a few extra euros at the end of each month, and then once they have enough to cover a month's mortgage payment, they make this payment in the bank as well as their normal monthly mortgage payment going out. Is this correct? Is it worth doing? Yes, it can actually knock years off your mortgage and save you thousands in interest. So I did an example of this on my Instagram page, looking at overpaying a mortgage versus investing versus a pension. Basically, let's say, for example, you've got a €400,000 mortgage over 30 years at 4% interest. Your overpayment will be about €190 a month. That's about 10% of what your mortgage repayments will be. So let's take €190 per month as the example. If you overpay your mortgage, you'll save €51,000. If you invest at €190 a month instead, you're looking at around about €210,000, sorry. And then even better, if you put that into a pension, you would generate around about €317,000. So 51,000 on the overpayment of the mortgage, 210,000 investing it, or 317,000 putting in your pension. So personally, I do the investing and the pension. I don't overpay my mortgage, but I know some people just like the idea of not having a mortgage to pay, which is really fair enough. So it's really up to you. I just think maybe financially you're probably better off investing it. But what I will say is just make sure that the overpayments, if you are making them, go against the principal, not against your interest. You actually have to state that to the lender. Just say to them, look, this extra $2,000, I want this off the principal. I don't want it off the interest. You have to make sure they do that. Question: can an estate agent insist that you have your surveyor complete a report on the house during bidding? I got told to arrange for this to occur before the bidding process was complete in order to ensure that the sale would be swift after one of us went sale agreed, and that the seller would look more favourably on bidders who had already completed a survey of the house. Now, this drives me absolutely insane. In no world should a potential buyer have to do this. In my opinion, every home should have to have an impartial professional survey done before being put up for sale, and a copy of this survey given to anyone who wishes to make an offer. So to answer your question though, basically estate agents can kind of do whatever they like. They can ask you to do whatever they like. There's little to no regulation on them. We've bodies like the PSRA, but they're essentially just kind of there for show. But it's up to you whether or not you want to do it. It's just ridiculous. Like, you're looking at 500 quid. So if there are 10 people bidding on the house, that's €5,000 down the drain. Like, why would 10 people have to get a survey on the same home? It's just so ridiculous. The seller should be doing this. But to answer your question, yes, they can basically ask anything from you and there's nothing you can do. It's up to you. It's a judgment call. Question: when you're getting cars for long test drives, how do you get them? Are you renting them or does the dealer give you them for a few days? Thanks. Well, this all kind of happened, to be honest, out of the blue, really. I really like cars. I wish I didn't because I rarely drive. I kind of cycle everywhere. But I started doing some quick videos about cars, just like little features of cars that maybe people don't know about. Looking at a couple of new cars as we were test driving cars for getting a new family car, which I still haven't bought because I can't afford one at the moment. But basically, I guess brands and PR companies and marketing companies, etc., follow me, or at least people who work for them do, and they notice the views that kind of like my car content was getting. So basically, how it works in the car industry, their marketing departments have money to spend that they have to spend, and they have to go to their department's heads and say, look, this is how I spent the money and this is how many views we got on this car, etc. So they have things called press cars that they give to journalists for usually 1 week at a time for car reviews, and then the journalists do their reviews for whether it's for YouTube or magazines or whatever. So most of mine are kind of just like that. Sometimes the brand will, like the manufacturers of the cars, so basically cars kind of are all in groups. There's very few car manufacturers that are like solo now. It's usually like, you know, a group like Volkswagen do BMW, they do Audi, they do Volkswagen, all that kind of stuff. So, or do they do BMW? I don't know. Anyway, there's Stellantis group. There's all these different groups that kind of do multiple cars, and then sometimes they reach out to me and they say, here, look, do you want this for a week? And they don't ask me to do a review. It's just I like doing that kind of content. I find it interesting, and it's a bit of a break from the misery of housing. So sometimes they reach out to me. Sometimes I reach out to them if it's a car that I really like. For example, the Cyberster I had last week, obviously not a family car, but a little 2-seater electric roadster, but it was unbelievable. So I reached out to MG because I've done a bit of work with them in the past, and I was like, here, look, can I have that Cyberster for a week? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I still haven't done a video, but I will do a video. So the odd time then a marketing company will reach out to me and ask me to do a paid ad for a car where they give me a car for a few days and they pay me, but they still don't tell me what to say. I'm kind of allowed basically say whatever I like in the ad or in the review. So basically, if it's labelled as paid, I've been paid to do that. And then if it's not, it's just me doing it for fun. And I think I've only done maybe 3 or 4 paid ones, and then the rest are all just for fun because I quite enjoy it. But yeah, it's really cool, and it's really scratching that itch of me wanting to get a new car, because really we don't need one. Although in saying that, I'm trying to convince my wife to let me buy an old pickup truck that I used to own 15 years ago. And anyway, that's a story for another day. I won't go into that. And then another question. Hi Kieran, I hope you don't mind me messaging you. We've been approved with permanent TSB with a broker and have been saving for the last 9 months. However, we're going to rent a house in the meantime before buying, as there are no houses on the market at the moment. However, the landlord insists on cash and no rent book. We can't afford to rent and save also, and want to show repayment capacity through our rent. I've seen conflicting info online. Most people who got mortgages state that once take the amount rate of rent out at the same time each month and mark it as rent, that's accepted as proof of repayment even though it's cash. We don't want to jeopardize our approval. So yeah, look, this is not ideal, obviously, and it obviously means that the landlord is not paying any tax, which is really annoying. But the best practice is to withdraw the same amount monthly and then label that really clearly as rent. Take a screenshot then of each withdrawal even, and from your banking app, and you can keep your own rent book or just like written confirmation. Look, if you can get your landlord to sign it, even better, but if not, just keep your own one. Like personally, if it was me, I'd be reporting the landlord to the RTB and to revenue after I'm finished renting it, and you finally manage to get your own thing. Like I have to pay tax on every euro I earn, so why shouldn't a landlord, who, let's not forget, they're also benefiting from the increase in property value, so essentially they get an asset at the end of all this that was paid for by someone else while simultaneously making a fortune, both monthly and then also at the end of it all. But yeah, look, if you just keep a note of everything and try to do everything at the same time, especially if you use a broker, again, I don't want to keep banging the broker drum, but if you use a broker, it should be absolutely fine, and it will go towards your repayment capacity. August Sinead Lahai on episode shut of the Crazy House Prices podcast. Thank you to Financial Planning Matters for sponsoring this podcast and my Instagram. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, leave a review on your podcast app, and tag me on Instagram. I'm always thrilled to hear how this podcast is helping you. And I think on Spotify, you can even add comments now. And if you're enjoying the podcast and my Instagram and you want to show your support, head over to patreon.com/Crazy House Prices. Your support not only helps keep this podcast and the Instagram page going, listening, but it also gives you exclusive access to bonus content like detailed Q&As where I answer every single question sent in. Plus, you'll get the unique opportunity to engage with my community of over 110,000 followers, asking them questions that Google could never answer. Also, my book, How to Buy a Home in Ireland, is available nationwide. Just Google it. You'll find it in stock somewhere, or even better, rent it from your local library for free. Anyway, I'll chat to you all soon. Slán go fóill.